everyone, and welcome to the Tempo Storm Early Days Meta Report for the Monuments of Power expansion. And players are scrambling to figure out the best ways to use these new cards. From dragons to celestials, and the new landmark mechanic, the format is bound to be shaken up. In this video, we will take a look at some of the early performing decks of the format, so we can have a better idea of where it may go in future weeks. Before we get into it, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more Tempo strategy content. One of the most popular archetypes in this new metagame early on has been dragons. This deck is able to develop strong units on the board early thanks to Herald of Dragons. Once the deck is able to establish a dragon onto the board, it is able to accrue further value out of it alongside fight effects such as single combat, strafing strike, and concerted strike, which will trigger fury and further grow your dragons. This expansion has brought dragons much of its core with Egghead Researcher, Dragon Guard Lieutenant, and Shyvana. These cards give the archetype an early game, which was largely absent in the first set of Call of the Mountain. Over the next few weeks, dragons will have to continue to figure out its identity. Though the deck knows it has a mid-range strategy, it has a few directions to go. It is possible dragons will want to become more value-oriented and look to Eclipse Dragon or even Aurelion Soul for the late game. On the other hand, dragons may look to become more tempo-driven. If this is the case, it is possible cards like Stony Suppressor or Dragon Guard Lookout may be the tools dragons need to solidify its early advantage. While dragons have not yet been fully figured out, it seems to have great potential to be one of the strongest new strategies to come to Runeterra. An entirely new strategy that aims to maximize on using Tahm Kench as a board control tool, while Soraka acts as a bulky healer who will generate incredible card advantage if she is allowed to stick around. Much of this deck's power comes from its landmark, Star Spring. Since many of the units the deck comes into play damaged, Star Spring will not only heal them up, helping you further fight for the board, but it will also slowly tick upwards as it threatens to win the game through healing. This is a control deck unlike any other we have really seen in the past. Outside of Fiora, no decks in Runeterra have had win the game conditions, and even Fiora relied on combat to win the game. This archetype instead aims to grind opponents out of the game so that its true win condition, healing, can take over. What early meta report would be complete without a low to the ground, all-in aggro deck? Though Draven Fizz did not get many new tools in the new set, it did get Lounging Lizard. This gives the deck access to just a little bit more elusive damage, making it that much better at establishing a board that is difficult to block. This deck aims to get in chip shots throughout the game with its elusive units such as Golden Narwhal, Zap Sprayfin, and Slippery Wave Rider. It preys on decks that struggle to answer elusives or rely on targeted spells to remove threats, since Fizz dodges that type of removal. It is a common occurrence that an aggro deck thrives at the start of a format. These decks are often linear enough to consistently pull off their game plan, while less refined decks struggle to keep up with the raw speed these decks can bring. Draven Fizz may not be the strongest contender in future weeks, but it seems well positioned so early into the format. The classic deck from the Rising Tides, Sea Monsters, finds a little bit of support in Monuments of Power. Its new landmark, the Slaughter Docks, allows it to more reliably hit deep by turn 7. Unlike other tossers such as Dreggers or Deadbloom Wanderer, the Slaughter Docks does not fight for board when it is played. Instead, it pays you off greatly later in the game, turning your 3-mana play into a Sea Monster. Sea Monsters has consistently been a strong deck over the months since its release, but it has not shined in recent metagames. Currently though, with so many dragons running around, Sea Monsters finds itself pretty well positioned. The deck has tools to contest the board in the first few turns of the game, and tends to have a handful of haymakers in its toolbox. When facing off against deep, enemies need to beware of key cards such as Devourer of the Depths, the Rumination, or Atrocity, which can devastate an unprepared opponent. A new take on Lee Sin OTK, Soraka Lee has the same kill setups from classic Lee Sin combo, but gains access to additional card draw thanks to Soraka. Monuments of Power has also brought a new control tool to the archetype in Nopify. This allows the Lee player to go under 4 mana and still have the ability to interact with the enemy's game plan. Soraka Lee aims to kill you in the same way any other Lee Sin deck would. Its goal is to develop Lee Sin, level him up, and equip him with Zenith Blade. Once Lee has Overwhelm, he will deal his attack to the enemy nexus 2 times, once for Dragon's Rage, then again for his regular attack. With a handful of gems, Lee can be powered up enough to kill the enemy in a single attack. It is to be seen if Soraka Soraka is a strong enough champion to last in the Lee Sin archetype. It is currently competing with other variants such as Diana, Zed, and Mono Lee, all of which are legitimate contenders in the Lee Sin metagame. For now, however, Soraka Lee is a fresh way to play this powerful strategy. The addition of 40 cards in the Monuments of Power expansion has only just hit, and already we are seeing a handful of new strategies hitting the scene. Soraka, Tahm, Kench, and Shyvana all seem to be quite powerful champions, and are showing they have the ability to spawn their own archetypes. Will these champions stand the test of time and continue to be popular in the weeks to come? Or will old strategies rise to the occasion and prove that they are still relevant today? We will find out soon enough. Who is your favorite champion from Monuments of Power? Let us know in the comments below, and hey, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave us a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more of our tempo strategy content. Thanks for watching!